Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sippin On Country. Today we are here with Molly Lovette. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So you're an independent artist based in Nashville.
Yes.
For anyone that does not know who you are, I guess just tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you ended up at this point talking to me.
Yeah, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri originally. And I just always loved music since I was little. Like my parents say that I was just singing around the house and running around playing the piano and putting on shows for them. And I always loved it. But I have a whole story of, I also really loved sports. And so I played basketball as well.
Okay.
And, I feel like it was like my High School Musical moment where I was choosing like basketball and singing, and it was this whole thing. But I got hurt when I was like 13. I fell in a game, and the doctors ended up finding a bone tumor inside of my femur. Very crazy. And I had to get surgery and was out of sports for about a year. And so during that time, I like really dove into music, and my dad taught me to play guitar. And I was writing a lot of songs and just kind of fell totally in love with music. So I decided that was what I was going to do. I went to college for 1 year and then moved to Nashville.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is quite a story.
It's
back to it.
I know, right?
So you go to a year and you were just not doing something that you wanted to do? Or?
Yeah, I decided to go to college because it was just the thing to do. Like, that's just, you get your high school degree, whatever, and you go to college. So I was going to be a teacher, actually. My mom has been in education her whole life, and I love kids, and I was like, I'll just do that because, got to go to college. Right. But during that year, I was writing a ton, and I would play at this one little bar that we had in our college town. And I went home for Christmas break and played my first full band show. And it was literally like me and some of my dad's buddies, like some, 50-year-old guys got up and played a show, and it was the literal like best night of my life. I had so many people come out, and I got off stage and I was like, I have to do that like every night. Like, this has to be my life. And I decided to put a PowerPoint presentation together to present to my parents of why I should not go back to college and why I needed to move to Nashville.
I love that. I don't think anyone to this point has been like, I gave up this and then I made a PowerPoint presentation just so I knew that I had everything clear.
Yes.
Step one, this is...
Yes. Well, that was so me. I was so like straight A student, perfectionist. Like, so it was also very strange that I was the one dropping out of school in my family. Like, it just was so unlike me. But I think that's why I am able to like have my own business now and, have a team and a band and hire people, because I was so like responsible in that way and had to do things that way.
I love that. I think when you find something you really love, look, we only get to do this thing once, right?
Yeah.
So you might as well spend it doing something that you're passionate about. And as scary as going into music can be, if you have the drive and you can find a way to make that a living, have the the financial side of it is always hard, but if you can figure all that out, then why not? Why not do something that every day you can wake up being excited to do?
Yeah. And that's kind of what my parents said, because I was nervous to tell them that I wanted to do this full time, and immediately they were like, yeah, like, let's do it. Let's figure out how you can make it work. And so I ended up staying in St. Louis for about a year before I moved to Nashville, and I gigged like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every single weekend. So I kind of learned how to put on a show and made money and saved up and was able to get to Nashville.
Nice. So musically, obviously, you play country music, but is that something that you grew up on, or is that something you kind of discovered yourself kind of on your musical path, as it were?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I definitely came from a music family. Like, we would go watch live music all the time when I was little. And my first concert was Tim McGraw in Faith Hill when I was 5 years old.
I mean, that'll do it, right?
No, literally, I'm like, yeah, that was it. So I definitely was surrounded by country music, and I am like one of the biggest Taylor Swift fans since I was little. She was like one of my first CDs. My dad and I would go to a lot of her concerts growing up, and I fell in love with her and her songwriting, and just kind of continued to follow her and a lot of other, especially women in country music.
Right. And I mean, if you want to look at someone who has really taken that businesswoman performer side of things, I mean, Taylor Swift has, regardless of, you know, whether you're a Taylor fan or not, you don't have to be a fanatic, but Taylor fan or not, I mean, she has found that perfect balance. Yeah. I mean, she nailed it.
Yes.
You know,
totally.
and I think that's a very hard line to walk now, but ultimately one that you do kind of have to if you want to be successful, because I think more than ever now we're in a time where you as the artist have to be everything.
Yes, especially as an independent artist. Yeah. It's, you know, I'm kind of wearing all the hats right now, where I work with a few boutique booking agencies, but a lot of the times it's me getting up early before I, you know, go to write or do whatever I'm doing that day, and I'm sending 20 emails off to a bunch of venues and hoping I get one response, and, you know, being the tour manager and setting things up before my band and I hit the road. And it's a lot right now. But I know it's not forever, and eventually I'll, you know, have a bigger team and get to just focus on the writing and the music and all of that. But it is a lot of kind of doing it all right now.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems like you are on the right path with it to do that and to continue moving up. I don't think there is, you know, I say it all the time on these, but there is no set way to do anything in the industry. Yeah. You know, you can go this way, you can go this way, but somehow something will lead back.
Exactly.
But it definitely just takes a lot of hard work, a lot of perseverance, which, you know, even just sitting here listening to you talking about that, you obviously have. And you've been really fortunate that you have been able to support some great artists. I mean, just getting those support acts. I mean, tell us about some of those.
Yeah, that's been probably the coolest thing I've gotten to do so far, is getting to open for some of my favorite artists. Last year we got to do some Priscilla Block shows, Kylie Morgan, Ashley McBride, and then Dierks Bentley, which was my favorite show. It was so much fun.
Why was that your favorite show? I can't imagine why that would have been your favorite show.
I know, weird. Yeah. Oh, he was so cool.
And tell everyone what happened with the Dierks Bentley show, because that's awesome.
It's a story. I really manifested this, because I told everybody when I found out that I had the opportunity to open for Dierks. I was so excited, and for some reason in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna sing with him. Like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but like, we're gonna sing together. Like, it's gonna happen. And so I started telling all my friends and family that, and I even hired a videographer, and I told her, I was like, hey, I'm singing with Dierks, so I'm gonna need you to come to the show and video. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, that's so cool. Like, what song are you guys singing? What are you doing? And I go, I don't know. But it's gonna happen, and I need you to be there, and it's just all gonna work out. And so I get to the show, and we sound check, and after our sound check, Dierks was in his dressing room, and I was in mine next door, and I knocked on the door. Nobody answers, and so I think adrenaline just kicked in, and I opened the door. Yeah, I was just like, hi. I was like, I'm Molly.
Was he clothed at least?
He was, thank goodness.
Good,
I kind of slowly opened it, because I was like, I hope they're not changing. Like, the door's shut, like, and no one answered. I don't know what happened. I just opened the door. And they were like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, come on in. And so I talked with Dierks for a while, and he was so just kind and asked all about my career and life so far. And luckily we had a mutual connection, someone we both knew, and so I kind of name dropped, and I was like, oh, I was just with so-and-so.
You got to do what you got to do sometimes,
yeah,
right?
Which he did tell me. He was like, oh, tell him you know me. And I was like, okay, like, cool, that'll help. And so we were, you know, talking about him, and then I was like, you know, I don't know if this is something you'd be open to, but I would love to sing with you. I'd be so honored if we got to sing a song together. And he was like, like, what did you want to sing? And I was like, well, I know your song Different for Girls with Elle King super well. And he was like, that one wasn't on the set list, and I haven't done it in a long time, but yeah, I think we should do it. And I was like,
just like that.
yes, just
no,
like that.
no,
Nothing,
like
yeah.
oh, I love that.
And so he was like, let's practice right now. And I was like, okay. And I was like, can I go get my videographer? And he was like, yeah, go get him. So I brought her in, and it was seriously the coolest thing, and I'm so grateful to him.
That's amazing. I think that's a huge, like, Nashville artists just in general, I feel like are a lot more open to that sort of stuff. Maybe it's just country music. Sometimes I think, like, for anyone who's not been to Nashville, I mean, there are a ton of famous faces that live here, but you never see paparazzi. I mean, like, the media presence is just not here, and I think that as a whole, that makes people a lot more chilled out, right? Because if they walk out their door, I mean, even 9 times out of 10, you know, you'll see them in a bar, and if you're the tourist, you're the one that goes up to them. Everyone else is just like, oh yeah, Dirks is over there.
Yes.
You know, no one cares.
Yeah.
And so when you get the 1 or 2 people that want to speak, they're open to it. And I think that mentality just goes through the whole genre. You know, like if someone asks something, people are much more willing to be like, yeah,
sure,
okay,
yeah,
let's do it.
totally.
Why not? What can go wrong?
Yeah.
That's amazing though.
Thank you.
Well,
yeah.
at least it happened. Otherwise, your videographer would have been like,
I know,
what?
should have been like, why am I here? I'm like, yeah.
Where was that show?
It was in St. Louis, which is my hometown, so it made that even more
better.
special. And yeah, it was very, very cool.
That's awesome. So you've been touring and touring yourself, opening for these artists, and let's talk a little bit about your music. So I know you've got some lyric videos out on YouTube right now, and your current single, which is Not Even My Ex.
Yes.
Let's talk about that song. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I wrote this song last year, and it was, I mean, every song I write is very much about my life and something that I'm going through or watching a friend go through. And I was going through my own little friend breakup. And all I wanted to do was sit and be sad and like listen to sad music, because that is just what you do.
Yeah, right. You just wallow.
Right, yeah,
it's time
exactly.
to wallow.
Yes,
let's do it.
That makes sense. And I couldn't, because I was literally Googling like sad friend songs, like friend breakup songs, and there was nothing. I couldn't find anything. So I was like, I'm gonna have to write my own. So I wrote this song, and it was one that I honestly didn't know if I was gonna release or not, because it was very like personal and vulnerable and different. But I'm so glad that I put it out there, and I played it. I think when I knew I was going to put it out, I played it at the listening room here in Nashville, and I had people out in the crowd that were crying, and people came up to me after, and they were like, "I needed to hear that song. Like, thank you." And I feel like when you have that kind of reaction,
that is a sign for sure.
Yes, I was like, okay, like other people, need to hear this one too.
But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot. I feel like most breakup songs are, you know, hey, I got divorced, or like my boyfriend, like it's romantic relationships for the most part. You rarely hear just about those platonic relationships failing.
Yes,
and they
exactly.
do all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, whether that be friends or family, I feel like it alludes to both of that, which is an entire lump of people that don't get sung about.
Exactly.
At least not in that way. So that's very cool. I can totally understand why that song would resonate.
Yeah.
So that is out now.
Yes.
For people to stream and listen, all that good stuff. Yes. So I know the lyric video is on YouTube. Yeah. When it comes to lyric videos and stuff, that's something that, you know, in the past, I guess 5, 6, maybe longer than that. Let's say 6, 7 years. We'll do that. Like lyric videos have become a really big thing now to put out, and actually have like more visuals to the song. Is that something you do yourself, or are you hiring people out to create that media for you?
It is another one of the things I do myself.
Another hat to wear.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I have. So one of my cousins actually is a very, very talented videographer, editor, and she used to do all of my videos and photos, and she decided to leave me and move to Taiwan for the year.
How
I know.
dare she?
It's so rude. So rude of her. So I am now making the videos myself, which I've actually had a lot of fun with. I am definitely not a graphic designer, so I'm very slow and it's very frustrating sometimes, but I do enjoy getting to create. And I feel like with all of my songs, when I write them, I picture, images and visuals and colors and outfits in my head. So it's kind of fun to get to bring it to life and create it in that way.
And then when you put it out, you can know, like, this was me.
Yeah.
This was my idea.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very cool. So of all the people, since you've been out and you've been playing, of all the people you've had the pleasure to play with, be on the same stage with, who would you say has been some of your highlights?
Well, the Jerk show was the biggest for sure.
Of course.
I don't think I'll ever get over that one. The Priscilla Block show and Kylie Morgan show was really, really cool. Just because, like I said, I'm very inspired by the women in country music, and they, didn't know me before that show. It was also in St. Louis, so I was just the hometown girl that got to open for them, and they were so welcoming and wanted to hear my music. I sent them all my songs afterwards, and we got to go out to the bars after the show and hang out and just had a time. And it kind of just circling back to the Nashville community and how cool everybody is, and just chill with everybody, hanging out and coming up to them. And yeah, those are probably my favorite shows so far.
I mean, also with Priscilla and Kylie they're not, in reality, they're not too many steps above where you're sitting now. They're in that section right now where they've had that bit of success. They've both been able to tour a little bit more. They've got a slightly bigger audience, but they're not still kind of teetering on the which I think is really cool as well. I mean, and like you say, women in music now, I think there has been a real, I don't know, resurgence is the word, because I mean there's always been women in music, but I feel like they're coming to the forefront a little more in the past few years.
Totally.
I feel like there's been a strong what is the word I'm looking for?
Like a shift, or
we'll call it a shift. We'll just cut this little bit out. But yeah, there has been a shift in the popularity of male to female singers. I feel like there's a lot more females coming through than there has ever been before. I mean, obviously that imbalance has always been there. Is that something that you notice as an artist coming up?
Definitely. And it does get frustrating sometimes being a woman in country music, because there are a lot of times where I'll go to a writer's round and the entire lineup is guys, and it's just nice. But there, I mean, like you said, I feel like lately in the past couple of years, there's definitely a shift of women on the radio, like Lainey Wilson, who kind of broke through, and yeah, I'm hopeful. It gives me hope that the women are going to keep breaking through, and
Lainey's getting her bar.
Yes, I'm so excited about that.
I feel like even that is kind of it really shows how things are changing. I know Miranda's got it, but I mean, Miranda's...
She's kind of the only one, though.
That's it. Yeah, you've got... No, that is it.
I think
all the other bars, all the new bars that are opening,
the guys.
They're all... And I feel like that, drinking mentality as well, is kind of a male-dominated thing. But even, I mean, you say with radio, so, I mean, you've got Lainey. But even so, I couldn't tell you the last time I heard Ashley McBryde on the radio.
Yeah.
She's got Grammys. She's got a ton of awards. Yet I feel like she still gets overlooked on certain things.
She definitely does, yeah.
Is that a male female? Is it to do with the gender inequality? I don't know. But I think it's really,
we could go
right.
So much into
this could go real deep. But yeah, I feel like it is a much harder path, even though it's got better. As a female in country music, I feel like it's still a much harder path to tread. So you write your own stuff.
I do.
and I know you said you've got a writing session right after we finish
Yes.
doing the podcast. I mean, it's a constant thing. So do you have a handful of people specifically that you write with now? Have you kind of found the people that fit your...
Yeah, and that's been really cool over the past 3 years, because I moved here and I hadn't co-written at all. Like, I'd only written songs like by myself.
It's a very
in my bedroom.
Nashville thing,
yes.
for sure. Co-writing
Yes.
is definitely a big Nashville thing.
Yeah, so then you get to Nashville and you just want to write with everybody in the world, which I think everyone should. When you get to town, you should never turn down a write. You just write as much as you can with as many people as you can. And everybody kind of compares it to dating. Like, you just date around by writing around with people, and you figure out who you mesh with and who you write the best with. Some of my best friends are who I write the best with, which makes a lot of sense because we know each other very well, and it's easy to throw out any idea, even if it's a bad idea. There was, I don't even remember what I said, but I know there's been times where I've thrown out like the dumbest thing that just popped in my head, but it sparked something else, and then it turned into a really
those
cool
things
song.
Where it pops into your head and you think that's a great idea, and then you open your mouth
It, and it's like,
and
oh.
immediately think, nope,
Wasn't
that
it,
was
wasn't
that.
it? Yes, but then somebody else will be like, oh, but that made me think of this.
Right, and I
it's
think
like,
definitely when you're in a room with people that you can trust to bounce those ideas
Yes.
off. So I can't remember off the top of my head whose episode it was, but I remember speaking to someone and they were like, the best advice they ever got when they moved to town was, when you first start writing, just keep your mouth shut. That's it. If you don't have anything good to say, just don't say it at all. That was the
interesting.
until they kind of got settled. But I don't know. I think it all does also depend who you're writing with, because sometimes you're right. You know, you can say something and be like, that wasn't great, but then it plays off. Someone else is like, you know what? Actually, I agree, but but that's now made me think of this, and then you can roll off that. And I think that's nice when you can find the people that you really gel with.
You're like comfortable with being able to do that,
because you have to be vulnerable in writing sessions.
Yes,
you know, I mean, talking about with your single, that was obviously a very personal song, and you need the right people to write with.
That's right. Yes, the right. Yeah, exactly. So it's co-writing has been really cool, and I still write by myself a lot, and I feel like lately too I've been getting a lot of ideas and kind of writing like a chorus or a verse and bringing it to a write, which has been fun because then it's a lot of myself in the song and kind of just getting help and, you know, having other people's brains and kind of finish it up.
And when you're going into those sessions, are you in the mindset of, we're coming in here to write for me, or do you ever write for other artists, or are you predominantly looking for your own material?
I love writing for other people too. So it just kind of depends on the day and who I'm writing with. If there's, you know, more than one artist in the room, then usually at the beginning we'll kind of talk about who we want to write for, who is looking to cut a song soon, or whatever it is. But I feel like typically, if you're all artists in the room, whoever's idea it is, that's usually their song.
Right. And how long have you been in Nashville?
About 3.5 years.
3.5 years. So you're newly into Nashville. That's still very early on in the 10-year town. Right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So based on those paths, so you moved just after COVID, so kind of when everything started opening back up and you could really experience Nashville for what Nashville has to offer.
Yes.
But how did that differ from, you know, you pack up all your stuff in Missouri, you're like, that's it, I'm leaving, I'm going to Nashville. You must have had some, you know, those like preconceived notions of, this is what it's going to be like, I'm going to get there, I'm going to hit the ground running, blah 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 blah. I mean, how did that really play out for you?
It kind of worked out for me. I didn't know anyone really when I moved here, so I wasn't expecting too much. I feel like I had you know, manageable expectations. And I wasn't thinking, you know, I'm going to move there and I'm going to be super famous within the next month. Like, I just, you know, I kind of understood what Nashville was and that it was going to take time. But I feel like I stayed in St. Louis long enough to where I was confident as a songwriter, as a performer, that when I got to town, I wasn't nervous to like play in front of people or to to put myself out there in that way. I mean, the first week I moved here, actually, I think it was like my second day in town, I went to a writer's round. And I was always so nervous to go places. So there was also that layer of it where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to like fit in with all these people in the bars. And because I had to go listen to the music, which were all in bars. But I ended up, my second day in town, I went to a show and I recognized someone from Instagram. Like, we followed each other. And so we were like, oh my gosh, hey. And he was like, somebody backed out of the next round. Like, you can borrow my guitar. Would you want to play? And I was like, yeah, like, of course. So I got to play like my second day here. And just kind of after that show, I kept going back to that bar and to other rounds, and just anyone that would come off stage, I would introduce myself and say, I'd love to write. I'd love to get coffee. And that's what I did.
It's the way to do it. I mean, to network, and I mean, Nashville is one of the best towns to network. You know, you never know who you're going to run into. I remember years ago when I was traveling back and forth. It was before I moved here, and I got an Uber somewhere, and my Uber driver was Italian, and I'm like, how do you go from Italy to Nashville? You know, he's like, oh, I'm a musician. I was like, Of course you are. Like, of course, right?
No, it's like weird if you meet someone who's not a musician.
Right. So we get to talking, and he's a drummer, and he's like, oh yeah, he worked on all the Big and Rich and Gretchen Wilson stuff back in the day.
Wow.
Dude's got a Grammy.
Oh,
and then
gosh.
I ended up writing with him and going to his house, and
Amazing.
I was just like, from an Uber ride.
Right. You never know.
You know, that is Nashville there. So
totally.
I think just to have the confidence. I mean, first off, to walk into that bar and like at a drop of a hat be like, sure, I'll play. You know, step one, perfect.
Yeah.
And then I think there's just a lot of people that sometimes are too nervous to always introduce yourself, you know, but you have to. And if there's one thing about the music industry as a whole, you have to be present. And you have to be in front of people. You know, you could have stayed in St. Louis. Would it St. Louis?
Either
St.
one's
Louis?
good, yeah.
St. Louis.
St. Louis is kind of fun. I say St. Louis, but I like
We're
going
to cut that out too. I
think St. Louis is great.
Each had to cut out.
I got some. That was my king queen royal family moment. Louis.
I loved it. Very fancy.
Saint Louis.
Yes.
Let's replay. So, I mean, if you'd have stayed in St. Louis, you could still be doing, you know, you may well have the opportunity to still open up for people and be doing what you do there. But I feel like the ground you're able to make being in front of all these people.
Totally.
You know, and going back to Priscilla Block, I mean, just a couple of years ago, she was there. She was doing the writers' rounds, and it really, you know, it doesn't take much. And I think if you've got the perseverance and the drive, and I think definitely having that business head on you now, which is something that's hard because most creative people don't, you know, it's hard to find a good balance of creativity and business.
Totally.
Because they're two very different mindsets. But you really have to do that now if you want to be successful.
Yeah, and that's what I am grateful for, my like type A brain, because I somehow can very much separate. I like, even, you know, back in school, I was always color coding things, and I had my planner, and I have those two sides of myself, which I'm grateful for and has helped a ton. But I remember, even because when I moved to town, I wanted to put a band together when I got here, because that was one thing that I didn't have back in St. Louis. And that first year of touring and trying to figure out the business side of all of that, I mean, I lost so much money the first year of touring, because I just
Is it
was
even
figuring
touring
it out.
if you don't lose money?
I know.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's figuring it out and how to kind of navigate the business world. And now I've definitely got the hang of it, and it makes me excited, because I've had people like reach out on Instagram DMs of like, hey, can we grab coffee? I've been wanting to try to get into touring and playing outside of Nashville. And I'm like, oh, people think I know what I'm doing. Like, that's so cool.
It's all about the illusion.
Right?
I'm
like, I don't know, guys.
But that's nice though. I mean, and it shows you're doing something right. and I feel like that just should bolster your confidence in that, you're on a good path. And I think it's also hard being creative if you don't know that business side and you don't delve into it. I think it's a very easy industry to get taken advantage of. So you are saving yourself from that element of it to a degree as well by having that kind of strategic head on your shoulders and being able to do all that.
Yeah, and I've definitely learned some lessons with contracts and things like that, and getting stuck in certain situations. But I mean, it's all part of it. I've been doing it, 3-4 years now, so it's it's a process. But yeah, I'm definitely getting the hang of it a little more now.
So in terms of 2024 and your music and what might be, what have you got coming out touring wise? What have you got, plans to get out of Nashville and get around the country, maybe out of the country? Where are you kind of at with that?
Yeah, lots of new cities this year. We're hitting some new places in like Florida and Ohio, Kansas, a lot of Midwest. A lot of Midwest. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun with the band, and I actually bought a van this year, which has been really cool.
Okay.
So we're getting to travel around the country in that.
In your dedicated band van.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, I've got my logo on the side of it.
Have you got some LEDs on the ceiling yet?
I need to do that because I want it to be cuter. I've got like a cute little sparkly like steering wheel cover.
It's a start.
It's a start. And I've got like cute little like dangly disco cowgirl thing.
You could just put rhinestones all over the outside.
I like that idea.
Just get it wrapped in rhinestones.
I love that. It is wrapped in my logo. We do have my logo on the outside in pink, which made it cute because it does kind of look like a kidnapper van until we
just don't start opening the door and offering kids sweets.
I know
you said you really love children. we just
yeah. So we had to make it cute on the outside. But yeah, so touring has been really fun this year because we've got the van and I love my band, and they've been,
which is always good when you have to be stuck in a van with them for hours on hours.
Yes, they've become
that's definitely the less glamorous side of touring that people see.
Yes, for sure.
Hours and hours in a van with nothing but some gas station snacks.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Luckily, my band thinks I'm a bad driver, so they don't let me drive ever. So it's kind of nice because I just get to like.
Do you deliberately drive badly just for that reason?
I wish I could say yes, but I think I'm just a bad driver. I don't know. But yeah, so lots of new cities. I'm playing a show in September that I'm really excited about in St. Louis. It's a big fundraiser for Make-A-Wish. And some veteran organizations.
Nice.
And there'll be a big headliner that is not announced yet. But I'm really excited for that show. And then I played CMA Fest this year, which was super fun. I always love getting to be a part of that. I had never been to CMA Fest until I moved to Nashville.
Oh, wow.
And my first one was where I got to actually play. So it was really cool.
That's wild. And I mean, CMA is insane.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, for that to be your first experience of it, not as a fan, but as being there as the artist, that must have been absolutely wild.
So cool. Yeah, so cool. And I got to do some autograph signings and meet fans and take pictures and all that fun stuff. So that was really cool.
All during our cicada invasion.
Oh my gosh.
Which, they're not too bad, maybe.
They're just so gross. I just...
Don't like him.
Don't like it.
We're not quite there yet. We're not quite out of the woods. But I mean, CMA Fest as an artist, I feel like that's got to be bucket list as a country music artist, to be able to be a part of CMA Fest in any capacity. It's definitely really grown over the past few years, and it gets your music out to so many more people. People that aren't just in Nashville and aren't just in those major cities that you're traveling to. All those little people on the outskirts that are like, the people that save their money up every year because CMA Fest is that one festival that they're gonna go and just let their hair down. You know, I think to be part of that is awesome. You had a couple of performances. Played at the Hard Rock.
Yes, the Hard Rock, which was I love the Hard Rock. Is such a just like awesome. Everybody knows it. Really cool. Legendary.
One of the few original venues left in Nashville.
Yeah.
So between that and the signings, I mean that's I feel like that's really cool. And to know that you've got people that are willing to come out and stand in line to meet you, right? Like that must be a really cool feeling.
Yeah, it still like blows my mind even after I get done playing a show on the road, when people come up to me after the shows and get pictures and want to talk, and that's always my favorite part. I love, like I tell everybody, I'm like, stick around, like I want to come say hi and all of that, and it just it blows my mind that people like want a picture with me or want an autograph or want. I'm like, this is so weird.
Would you say there's elements? Oh my god, I can't speak. Elephants. I don't know. Elements. Would you say there's elements of that are almost better than playing the show itself?
Sometimes I think because honestly, like my favorite part of the shows too are when I'm like connecting with somebody out in the crowd, when I make eye contact and I see somebody smile or cry or dancing or whatever it is.
If you've made someone cry, well, I mean,
in a good way,
with your music,
yes,
if you've made someone cry with your music, that's when you know you've done it right.
Yes,
you know,
it's really special. That is, I mean, I love writing and performing, but I think the reason I love the live shows more than anything is because I have that connection with people.
And what's nice is you don't need to know anything else about them. They don't need to know anything more about you. It doesn't matter what political views, religious views, whatever it is in that room for that, hour and a half that you're playing. All of it is gone. It's just you, the audience, the songs, and then when you finish, it's really special. Like the way that music can bring people together, and being able to find that in the live shows, I think is really special 100%. As well.
Totally.
So country music is getting a lot bigger outside the US now. It's definitely growing a lot in Europe and the UK. Is that somewhere that you would want to tour? Would you want to get out and go overseas?
I would love to. Yeah, I've actually never been out of the country.
Okay.
And it is definitely a bucket list. Hopefully sometime soon.
So shall we hit Canada first?
Yes, we could
do
that.
Canada
we'll do that first. Yes.
Get to Canada.
We'll make our way. I actually still, my family is from Ireland, so I have a lot of cousins that still live over there. And
free place to stay.
I know.
Nowhere's that far. It's tiny. You can fit the whole UK into Texas 4 times, I think.
Oh my gosh.
So no matter where you are, you're never that far from a show, right?
Yeah, there you go. So yes, I definitely got to make it to Ireland. And during COVID, actually, I made so many new friends and fans from the UK, because I would do like a weekly Facebook Live show, and I met so many new people that found the show and kept coming back every week, that live over there. So I definitely want to get over there and play some shows.
Do you find that social media has played quite a heavy role in the way you've built yourself up as an artist? I mean, there's a lot of why do I just not know words today?
Music is also international too. People play it.
Oh yeah.
We can
say that.
Oh, there you go. We can turn around onto it. Social media now is a big thing for independent artists. It's another platform to get your music out on, and an amazing platform to reach people in the UK that you wouldn't run into otherwise in Europe, for people that don't even speak the same language to be able to jump on board with you. And to get your music over there. I mean, have you been able to have any plays over there from your social media stuff?
Yeah, I actually have some radio play over in the UK, Australia as well.
Very big in Australia.
Yeah. Which and it's always fun too. Like I'll look on Spotify for artists and see where my music is being streamed, and it's always pretty big over there as well. And that has to do 100% with social media, because like you said, there's no way I would be able to get my music over there. So as much as I feel like people don't like social media in some ways. And it is
it's a necessary evil,
it
right?
is, yeah.
It
It's
is.
like it's very helpful as well.
I mean, I think that it's almost the same with the streaming platforms, that I think obviously there is a lot of controversy around, especially Spotify. But also as an independent artist, okay, sure, you're going to put your record out there and you're going to get 0.02 of a cent for every time someone streams your song, which is ridiculous. I mean, like, you can't justify that cost. But unfortunately, in the same vein, if you as an independent artist don't put your music on there, well,
What are you gonna it's not like because Garth Brooks is like one who he doesn't have his music on Spotify.
yeah, which is great, and I respect him for
Yes,
making that
totally.
choice, but he also, let's not be naive to the fact he has enough money that he doesn't need to. He's Garth Brooks.
He can do that.
Yeah,
If someone like me, didn't, it's like, okay, then no one's gonna hear your song.
You don't put it out on a platform. I mean, you spend thousands of dollars on getting a record out for really no return, which really sucks. But I mean, that is just, unfortunately, and I don't see it changing anytime soon, is just kind of the nature of the industry, that while you are building it up, I mean, you have to put everything in for a very, very small return. But I mean, there's more money in touring, when you're out, and the ticket money, merch money, is definitely, I think I've noticed, and especially coming out of COVID, everyone was missing live music, obviously.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But people are on the road so much more now, because it's really the only way to get a half decent income from being able to play your music.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have touring, I would have to have a side job or do something else. It's like, there's no way that putting songs on Spotify is going to make you money. You're just going to lose a whole bunch of money.
Right. I mean, imagine how rich you'd be if you actually got paid hourly for
I
all the work you put in,
I
right?
think about that all the time, because my dad always jokes, because when I'll play a show, he's like, oh, you're getting paid what the doctors get paid hourly for this show. And I'm like, because I'm working for money for 3 hours this week at this show,
Right.
and that's the money I'm making for the week.
Right.
Like, if I got paid for all the emails I sent and the videos I make, like, sure, then I'd have money.
Right.
But
Yeah, it's like, I do get paid well when I get paid.
Yes, exactly.
Even for touring musicians, I think people probably underestimate how much a touring musician makes, because most people aren't on salaries. They get paid for the shows, and okay, maybe you get a good pay for the show, but then there's probably 4 months out of the year where you're not playing any shows, and so all of a sudden the rest of that time has to make up for it. So you go out on a weekend, you play 2-3 shows, maybe you do pretty well, but maybe you're not playing the weekend after, and all of a sudden that's 2 weeks money, and it's not quite paying your rent, because Nashville's extortionate.
Oh my gosh, yes, exactly.
It's a really hard line to walk. The majority of people have to have that side job, which then takes away from being able to put the time into your own music all the time. It's a lot harder from actually doing it. It's obviously a lot harder than it seems from the outside.
Totally. And that was something I always wanted to avoid, was having to have a side job, because I don't want to distract anything from the music, whether it means I have to pick up a bunch of random, like, more hotel gigs or little things to make rent. It's like, I would rather do that, even because there are some shows where it's like, it feels like a job, and it's not fun, and I'm not playing for a big crowd. Exactly. And it's like, that's work to me. But I'd rather do that than have to get up and go to some job that I want nothing to do with.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's definitely tricky. Tomorrow you have a new song coming out.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's called Anywhere. I wrote it with Bill Romer, Brad Hutzel. And we wrote this one actually a couple years ago. I think it was the first song I wrote with Bill and Brad. And they've become good friends and co-writers, and I write a bunch with them now. But it's a love song, and if you know me, I have one other love song, and I really don't write love songs, but I'm entering my lover era, as Taylor would say. So yeah, we wrote this song just about that person who you would do anything, go anywhere to be with, and it's just a sweet little love song.
Nice. Everyone loves a love song, right?
I know, yeah.
Everyone can relate. I feel like the majority of I'm just making this stat up, but I feel like 90% of the songs that exist are love songs. Maybe 100%. You know what? 100% in some way, shape, or name.
Right.
In fact, name one song that does not have an element of being a love song.
Yeah, because even if it's like a breakup,
even a breakup song,
it's
still losing love, getting love, living with love.
The world is all about love.
It is. All we need is love.
Did it?
I'm sorry, I had to do it. But yeah, it's because it's such a relatable topic.
It is. Yeah. And it. But yeah,
because it's such a relatable topic.
It is.
Everyone has been in, even if it's not the exact position, everyone's been there at some point in time.
Yeah.
So that means tomorrow, everyone, coming out at midnight.
Yes. Well, tonight at midnight, I guess.
Tonight.
Yeah.
Don't stream it. Well, you can stream it, but as well as streaming it, you're going to go buy it. You're going to purchase it. And then once you've purchased it, you're going to go check out tour dates. And then once you've checked out tour dates, you're going to buy tickets to at least 5 shows. Because you just need to do some quality control, see what it's going to be like across the board, right?
Then we can do all of those things.
And then when you get to the shows, you're going to buy every single piece of merch there is, all of the merch. Maybe get doubles for like Christmas birthday gifts.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
That's
so now just get a shit ton of merch printed. But no, definitely go stream it. I'm going to link to all of this in the description for the podcast, so people are going to be able to find this. Moving forward for you, Molly Lovette in 5-6 years time, like where do you want to be? Obviously Taylor Swift is obviously a big inspiration for you, but as an artist, where do you see yourself going? Like what direction, where do you want to be?
Yeah, I would say in the next couple years, I'd love to be a supporting act on a tour, like year round. But in 5 to 6 years, I'd like to be headlining like arenas, or amphitheaters, things like that. I feel like in the next 5-6 years, I could get to that level and have a song on the radio. I have big dreams, and I always have. And one of my favorite pieces of advice that someone's given me is to just stay in line, because a lot of people move here and they have dreams, but they'll realize that their dreams change a little along the way, and they'll just want to be a songwriter and not do the artist thing, or they will just want to play the Broadway gigs and do that and make a living. And some people will just want to be an opener, or just, not necessarily get to the highest high. And I definitely don't need to be a Taylor Swift, because that's a lot. But yeah, I would love to headline shows and be on the radio and get my music out there to as many people as I can.
I feel like you seem to have a really level-headed way of looking at it, which I think is a huge thing to start, because I know there's a lot of people that come and they want this and this and this, and the reality of actually getting it is not quite what they imagined. But I mean, clearly you have the drive, which I love, and her music is great, guys, so please go check it out. We are going to be back next week with another episode of Sippin On Country. For now, Molly Lovette, thank you so much for coming in. We're going to link to all of that stuff, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you.
Recorded at 2300 Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Original theme music by Gary Wood.